Dude, I'm pretty stoked on this new FN.
I saw that.
Did you shoot it at? Well, I don't know. I guess we wouldn't have shot it at SHOT Show, but have you played with the 509 midsize?
I have not. No.
Yeah. How about any of the 509s? Have you fired any of the 509?
Yes. I think that's an awesome size. It's perfect.
Yeah. I think it's a nice platform, and I think what you see, with like the SIG. I know everybody's watching now. Hey, everybody. But with the P320 rollout and then you have the 520 rollout, I think you're seeing a lot more companies say, hey, we need to have a whole lineup of guns that meet the market demand of what people want, right? People want a Glock 17, Glock 19, P365 kind of roundup. And so the 320, I think, is doing really good at saying, hey, we got the full size, we got the compact, we got the carry, we got the X, blah, 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 blah. And so I think FN is wise, and I think their execution's on point. I think these 509s are solid.
Yeah, I really like kind of where the market is going as far as like shrinking the gun down as far as grip and everything, but also allowing you to get a longer slide on those options and things, because it traditionally is like, okay, let's just make everything smaller, and that's not necessarily necessary.
Yeah,
I think that it's kind of gone in a different direction. So,
yeah, I was thinking about cell phones that way the other day. Right? Remember when it was all about who had the smallest cell phone?
Right.
And
the Razor.
Right. And now it's all about who has the most functional cell phone. And so it's kind of fun. Hey, Tris, Brett, Chrissy's here. Alfonso's here. Welcome, everybody. We are live on Facebook and on YouTube. Grateful to everybody who's joining us. We're going to be recording episode 398 today of the Concealed Carry podcast. You'll have myself and my comigo, Matthew Marister.
You don't have a choice. You're stuck with me.
This is what you get. You get me and Matthew. That's just the name of the game today.
Yep.
Tris asked Tris asked, what's the retail on it? So this is the 509 mid-size MRD. Is that right? MDR, MRD? MRD. Yeah, that would make more sense. And I think retail on this is like $600 or $700. I can't remember. FN guns are not known for being the most economic choice.
No.
They're meant, I think they're known for being like battle tested and proven, right? That's their thing. So I think retail on this is like $700. Yeah, I think $699 is what I paid. Pretty sure. Sounds familiar.
Yeah, well, that's why I don't own any of them.
Love it. So this is my new gun, and this will be my first red dot handgun, Matthew.
Yeah, join the group now.
I got to be cool. I got to be in the in group. It's going to be a big transition. I think it's a hard transition to make. I think it takes a lot of dry fire work to get to the point where I know I can present and pick up that dot consistently, correctly all the time. So first I got to get the dot right, and then I'll work on the dry fire, and maybe this will be my new EDC gun. We'll see. Welcome, Brad and Jim and Dean and Gary and Doyle. Appreciate y'all being here. Okay. So today we're going to be talking about buying guns on the interwebs.
I heard you can get a gun on the internet easier than a library book.
Yeah.
That's what I heard once.
That's what the Obama master said. So we're going to discuss that, and it's going to be super fun. Matthew, welcome. All right. Well, I don't have any preliminary stuff to talk about. I think we could just jump in. Hey, before we do, Matthew, what's the giveaway this week? What could people be winning right now?
For this episode?
Well, I don't know if this. I think just the weekly one that next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday. Let me pull it up. I believe. You know what? I had it. I was just looking at it. Give me 1 second.
Welcome, Anthony.
It
Sean.
is the Flight 93 511 commemorative hat.
There you go. So guys, don't forget to go to concealedcarry.com/podcast prize. And you could, next Tuesday, we'll pull the winner for that 511 hat. So that's a pretty sweet deal. Sean, welcome. You're just down the road from us. Tris says, better than the gun show loophole. I love it. Anthony says, is this the show? Well, this is the concealedcarry.com recording of the Concealed Carry podcast, episode 398. So if that's what you're asking, I hopefully that answers your question. All right, let's go ahead and get the show on the road. You ready? Here we go.
Let's do it.
This is the Concealed Carry podcast, episode 398. Welcome to the Concealed Carry podcast. I am your host today, Jacob Paulson. I am joined by co-host Matthew Marister.
Hello.
We're going to have a good time today.
Yes.
We are going to be discussing the whole buying the guns on the interwebs question. You know, the good, the bad, the ugly, the pros, the cons, maybe some resources to consider, as well as, some legality concerns, or, what you need to know about the process and how to do it legally and stuff. So that is the plan. We are live right now on Facebook and YouTube. So those of you who are joining us live, we appreciate you being here, and we will try to respond to your comments as they come in. So yeah, before we get there though, a couple of sponsors for today. First, guns.com. This episode is kind of inspired by my most recent gun buying experience, which was my first time buying a gun on guns.com. And they really have impressed me with how quickly they have set up and become an e-commerce giant for firearms. And not just, that they're another company out there selling guns, but the little things they're doing have really impressed me. For example, they work with local dealers. So local dealers can sell their inventory on guns.com, which supports those local businesses. They really do a lot. I'm impressed with the used gun operation. So you can sell them your used gun. They'll buy it from you. And then obviously you can go on to their website and buy used guns. And they also have certified used guns that come with, some sort of guarantee or warranty or something or another. I'd have to go read and figure out what it is. But all around, I've just been impressed with their marketplace. We'll talk about some of those other things later today. So for your next online purchase, please consider guns.com. And then today is also sponsored by Guardian Nation. And I'm going to actually do something that's really unusual for me. I'm going to shut up and ask Matthew, what do you like about Guardian Nation? Like what, if someone's like, dude, like, why should I join? Like, what would you tell them, Matthew?
Yeah. So here's the thing. Obviously the big draw is people like to get stuff, right? So they like to get a package with different gear. So you get that once a quarter, right? So you get it 4 times a year. And you get good gear that's all related to concealed carry, carrying firearms and things like that, which is really cool. But behind that maybe a lot of people don't see is that we put out a ton of training information videos, hours and hours of videos that you can access on so many different topics that have to do with concealed carry. And it's not all just tactical stuff. It's, legal stuff and all kinds of stuff. And then when we run these deals that, the Guardian Nation members are always jumping in on these deals and getting, deeper deals than we normally do on those, what is it?
Offers or
offers
sales or whatever it might be. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a whole host of things that, if you just look at it, I just want the box, it pays for itself. Right. But you get all these other things behind the scenes that I hope people are taking advantage of, because it really makes it worthwhile. Even if you don't want all the gear, just the training information alone that you'd have to pay for these DVDs and things would be a lot of money. So
I appreciate you saying that, Matthew, because there's like 10 or so specific kind of core benefits of Guardian Nation. And while one of those is that we ship you a quarterly box, which is valued at minimum exactly of what you've paid to be a member of Guardian Nation, my sense or experience is that most of our members either see it as I'm a member to get a box, plus I get some other benefits, or they see it as I'm a member to get all these benefits and plus I get a box. So however you want to think of it is fine. I would encourage you to not, though, discount the value of all the training content material that's out there. As we all know, skills and training are more important than gear. And so, yeah, I prefer to think of it. I can tell you internally as a company, we think of it as we put out the best content possible for our members, and then the box is hopefully gravy. It's a reason, think of it as like a bonus for being a member. Whatever your reason, I would encourage you to go to guardiannation.com, and there you can see all the benefits that are available. Right now, I'll just highlight one thing that I think is really cool. You can get a 20% discount on your membership with CCW Safe. And that's pretty sweet.
That's huge.
20% is a big deal. If you get their premium, awesome, whatever they call it, best membership product, that's like $500 a year. So 20% off is like $100. That makes it a lot easier to justify your membership in guardiannation.com. So check it out today at www.guardiannation.com. Okay, so Matthew, let's talk about buying guns online. And I want to talk a little bit about what I consider like the old school thing. Well, actually, probably let's do this. Let's first clarify all the legal stuff and get that out of the way, and then let's talk about other stuff.
Okay.
So just in case like there's some huge anti-gunner listening to our podcast, which is probably not happening, but I figure we should get this out of the way first. So here's the deal that we need to clarify. When you buy a gun on the internet, it's more regulated than if you buy it in person.
Yeah, sure.
That's true, right? Because in the majority of US states, no background check is required for a personal transfer of a firearm. In Ohio, Matthew, I don't know about Ohio, so I'm going out a limb here, but if I lived down the street from you, if I was one of your neighbors and I wanted to buy a gun from you, is there going to be a background check?
Not if you and I are doing it. No.
Yeah, I just come over to your house.
No,
yeah,
right.
I just come to your house and we just exchange money. And you may choose to have a bill of sale written up or make a record of a serial number. Yeah, that's probably a best practice, but there's no legal requirement of jack squat.
No.
Now here in Colorado, we are one of a minority of states that have what we would call a universal background check law. So here in Colorado, that's not the case. If Riley and I want to exchange a gun, and that's happened on more than one occasion, then we got to go to a dealer and a background check has to be performed. But this is the point I'm making. In-person transfers of a firearm in most states do not require a background check, assuming there's no dealer involved. It's just two individuals. Right. But when you buy a gun online, it's a whole different beast because the seller on the internet is going to have to ship that gun to a dealer, and at that dealer you're going to have to pick it up. And because a dealer ultimately is doing the final transaction, the final transfer of the gun to the end user, to the customer, to the buyer, a background check is going to have to be performed. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the first thing to get out of the way, is that by nature, when guns are purchased online, the seller is going to ship that gun to a local dealer, based on the some choice of the buyer, what dealer it's going to go to, and then the buyer is going to pick up that gun from the dealer, and a background check is going to be performed regardless of what state you're in. And only if the background check is successful, approved, passed, whatever, then that gun is going to be transferred to the end customer.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Got that out of the way. Anything else along those lines, Matthew, that we should disclaim or get out of the way?
No, I mean, obviously in states that don't require those background checks, it's still, you have to be, it should be, legally speaking, it has to be somebody in that same state, right? So you can't cross state lines and buy a handgun in a different state if it's, private party to private party and then go back to Colorado or whatnot. That would technically be illegal. But it's difficult to track those types of things, right?
And those laws vary between handguns and long guns as well.
Yes.
So handguns are very particular that you really have to buy them in the state in which you reside. Or you have to pick it up from a dealer in a state in which you reside. Right. Whereas long guns are a little bit different. Mm-hmm. Okay, so with that disclaimer out of the way, let's talk about buying guns online. Now, before we started recording, Matthew, I asked you how many guns have you bought online, and it was a pretty short list. You said you've done it like once.
Right. Because we have private party.
Right. Because why not just go find a buddy down the road? Yeah. Now, for whatever reason, and it's probably mostly a personality thing, I buy all my guns online. Basically, a ton of them. Of the handguns I own, which I'm not going to disclose the number, I bet half of them were purchased online. Some of those through an actual retailer, just a go-to website, give money, they ship gun. In other cases, more like an auction broker type site, like a gun broker or something like that, where via a website, I find a seller who's selling a gun, and then I work with them, directly to have the gun shipped. But I've bought a lot of guns online. I have a Walther that I got online. I got a Smith & Wesson that I purchased online. I have another Walther, actually. Both my Walthers I got online. I have a Glock. Two of my Glocks were purchased online. And of course, this FN that's sitting here right in front of me online. So, and many, many others, I might add. I have an AR-15 that I was purchased online. So that I am no stranger. Oh, I have a Kel-Tec. Man, I could keep going. My Springfield XD was purchased on the internet. So it's not something that's new or bizarre to me, and I think it brings a certain amount of perspective because I've had a lot of experiences with different online retailers or brokers or whatever, and it's led me to kind of, I guess, a little bit more perspective. But one thing I think we need to address is this whole, when we buy online, are we hurting local businesses? We live in an age now where everything is going online and local companies are going out of business, and we have to ask ourselves, are we hurting the average local gun dealer by doing all this shopping online? And I've been thinking a lot about this lately, Matthew, because I do believe in American small businesses. I think that we don't want our local gun dealers to go away. We don't want them to go out of business. And so it's a challenging thing for us to kind of balance this idea that we all want the best deal, we all want the best experience, but we also don't want to put out of business the local guys. What thoughts do you have about that, if any?
Yeah, it's difficult. I think it's almost like the Amazon effect, right? Like everybody thinks that whatever they want, they should be able to get it within, 2 days. And it should be the best price, the absolute lowest price that you could possibly find anywhere. And it's going to be at your door in 2 days, or, you have access to it in 2 days. So I think, it's difficult for small shops, especially even some of the medium-sized gun shops to stock all the different varieties of firearms and have them in stock for somebody to come in and get it right then and there. And so I don't know. I think it absolutely does affect small businesses for sure. But I don't know if it's something that could be artificially stopped, right? Like, I think we should do all that we can to support small businesses, but I think that that's just how kind of I don't want to throw out the old free market capitalism, thing, but people are going to seek the best price, the most, the quickest way they can get in. If you go into a store and you want to buy a gun and they're like, no, I don't have that, but I have this and I can order that, but it's going to take, 5 or 6 days. And I can go online and say, this dealer is going to ship it to this dealer and they'll have it there in 3-4 days. I might say, okay, thanks, but I'm going to go over here. So I think that's the struggle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's all true. It's just nature of beast kind of stuff. I mean, your average local gun shop just can't stock all the stuff, whether we're talking about guns or holsters or whatever else. It's just the nature of the commerce system. I mean, like the crossbreed Super Tuck holster, which is kind of their flagship holster, it's available for 652 guns, plus right hand versus left hand, plus some of those with laser. I mean, there's like 12,000 SKUs for that one single holster. So that presents a pretty serious challenge for local gun shops. But here are a couple thoughts that I have in my mind. One, the margin on a new gun sale at your average local dealer sucks.
Yeah.
So if you think you're doing them a big favor by going in and buying your new handgun there, you should know that they're not making much money. In fact, I was talking to the dealer, the most recent one, when I picked up this FN 509 that's in my hand. I bought this online. I'm going to talk more about that in a minute. And when I went into the dealer to pick it up, they charge a $40 transfer fee. Now, 40 is probably a little bit on the higher end here in Colorado. I definitely could find a dealer that would do it for 30. 40, I would say, is maybe it's about average. There's certainly some that charge a $50 transfer fee. But I had to ask the man. I said, hey, you don't have this gun in stock, but if you did, would your margin be better than $40? And his answer was no. Wow. So he made more money on me because I bought the gun on the internet and had him, do the transfer than he would have made if he had the gun in stock and I just walked in and bought it. Mm. So I guess the point is that the beautiful thing about the way the legal / commerce system of guns is set up is that when you buy a gun online and you have it transferred to a local dealer, and then you show up and you pay that transfer fee, which is pretty standard. Most dealers are going to have that in place. they're still making money. And in some cases, they're making even more money than they would make on a new gun sold.
Right.
Most dealers are making their money on used guns. And so if you're, if you're looking for a used gun, that would be one option you might consider, that those local dealer might have some selection, and that's a place where they tend to have a good profit center. Another thing that I think about local gun shops is that a lot of them also provide training. That's how they augment their business. And a lot of them also are gunsmiths. And that is a service that I think is extremely important and critical, and I don't want to see disappear in my community, right? I need my local gunsmiths to be around. There's days that show up where I say, hey, I've probably put 5,000 rounds through this gun. I need to go have a tune-up. I need to take it to someone and say, hey, will you go through this, replace all the springs that need to be replaced, and do this and that and the other thing? And, I'm a guy who does that, just like I do with my truck. I take it to the dealer and I say, hey, I'm at 100,000 miles, like do all the stuff that the manufacturer says needs to be done so that my truck runs well. I do that with my gun too. And so I put great value in the local gunsmith. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is that, yes, while a lot of gun commerce is going online, I think local dealers are figuring out where they fit in that system and that new commerce situation. And I for one don't feel like I'm putting them out of business by shopping online. In some ways, on the contrary, I'm keeping them in business because they got to do the transfer fee.
Right. Yeah. And like you said, they do make more. And I'm really good friends with a couple people that are own small gun stores, like, small gun stores. And they got to the point where they're saying, I'm only stocking a few guns. And if somebody wants to buy a gun, I just have them, I have those customers that come in and they want a gun, and I'll order it for them, and I give them a good price, and they're willing to wait because, I'm giving them that extra service as far as I can sell them ammunition or whatnot and give them a good deal, all together. And like you said, they can bring the gun back and have it serviced, or they have that peace of mind that they're actually dealing with somebody on a daily basis, rather than saying, I'm going to transfer to this FFL who may or may not have a gun store. I mean, there's a lot of FFLs. I don't know how it works with you guys, but there are a lot of FFLs that they just have an FFL and they transfer guns from their home. And so you go to some dude's house and they're transferring the gun. They're an FFL. They don't have a shop necessarily. And so, not to say it's illegal or anything, but you don't have that, repeat business or anything, that relationship with somebody who's going to call you up and say, hey, dude, I got this gun in on a trade. I know you like, X type guns. Come on down and I'll hold it for you, or something like that.
Yeah, I strongly believe that serious gun owners should have a relationship with a local gun shop that has a gunsmith in house, because that relationship is very valuable. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't mean I'm going to buy all my guns there. I'm still going to go shop around and find the best price for me and stuff, right? But having that relationship has those other inherent values. So I appreciate that you referenced that. Okay, so here's what I want to share. I remember my first online gun buying experience, and I was quite naive, and it was quite horrible. And it went something like this. I was on a website, name not to be used, but it's a eBay type operation. Mm-hmm. So I made a bid on a gun, and I won the auction. I was like, sweet, I got a gun. And, I didn't know anything. So I figure, well, I won the auction. Like, I don't know, like what happens now? Like, I remember thinking, like, I have no idea what to. So I just get an email from the guy, and he's like, hey, you won, like, call, like, okay. So I got to call the guy on the phone, give him a credit card, and great, he's got my money now. And he's like, oh, okay. So, like, what dealer do you want this to go to? And I'm like, but I don't know. He's like, well, go find a dealer and call me back. I'm like, oh, okay. So I got to call around. I got to find a dealer who does transfers, because some of them won't right. do transfers, especially the big box players, the Cabela's and Bass Pros of the world. They're like, nope, won't do it. So finally I make a couple calls. I find someone that's like, yep, we do transfers. And then they're like, so I'm like, great. What info do I need? They're like, well, have the seller send me an email to request my stuff. I'm like, okay. So then I got to make the phone call. Okay, yeah, this local shop will do the transfer. He said you got to call him to get the. Oh, okay, yeah. So then they call each other, and and then I get a call back. Okay, yeah, I talked to them, and they sent me what I need, and guns on its way. And like, that's a lot of like hassle and
brutal.
Work.
Yeah,
it wasn't very fun. And at some point, you got to say, man, that really sucked. And so contrast that with my most recent experience. This was 2 weeks ago, and guns.com is, spending some good money on advertising. They're really out there. They're pushing really hard. And I thought, well, I want to give their website a shot. So I went. They had tons of guns for sale. I clicked on new. I wanted to see new guns. I clicked on FN. Whoop, it just kind of keeps shrinking down the results. I clicked on 9mm. Whoop, shrinks it even faster. And boom, real quick, I can see all the guns. I found the one I wanted. I want this gun right here. I have it in my hand. It's the 509 midsize red dot ready optic ready gun, and I've had my eye on this for a while. I declared, I think last May, that this would be my next gun. So it took me almost 12 months, but I got it in my hand, and so I found it. Price looked good. I think it's pretty easy in today's commerce environment to find out what a good price is on a gun. It doesn't take much Googling to figure that out. And so brand new, I felt like it was a good price, and so I add to cart. Okay. And the first thing I was thinking is, I wonder if guns.com will take my money, if they will charge my credit card first and then worry about where they ship it, or how that'll work. Because this is something I've noticed about a lot of websites that sell guns, and it really kind of upsets me. Since that first transaction I had where you charge my credit card, you take my money, and then you say, find us a dealer to ship this. It's almost like, well, I don't know. I just feel like there's something backwards about that. And so guns.com, that wasn't the case. I go to the website, I add the gun to cart, I go to checkout, and the first thing as I put in my name and my address, and then it pops up and says, okay, find a dealer near you. And it had preloaded FFL dealers in my area.
That's really cool.
It pulled up a map. It's like, you live here. Here's your address that you've given us. Here are the dealers around you. Pick one. I didn't have to call around. I didn't have to say, hey, will you do it? They had preloaded a list of dealers. So I just clicked on one that I knew. I was like, oh, yep, I know those guys. I know where they are. I've been in that shop before. Select. And it's like, okay, done. Now, hit next, put in payment info, hit next, done. That was it. I didn't have to make any phone calls, no groundwork, no making, figuring out who's going to get the gun. I just selected from a list So think how different that is than my first experience.
Yeah. Well, the FFL search is always the most difficult thing. And plus it worries me. And that's one of the things that, that kind of kept me from purchasing guns online, is that, you may see FFLs on there, but you're calling around and you don't know if this guy is going to, when you say, hey, I bought this gun, he needs you to email him with your FFL information. He's like, okay, yeah, I'll do it. And you don't know if he's going to do it later that day or next day, or maybe he's like, he only works a couple days and you call him back. You never know. And it's kind of cool if you have a site that's already kind of, I don't want to say vetting the FFLs, but they work with them. So they have the relationship to say, if these guys are constantly, if the customer's saying, hey, guns.com, I used your FFL and they're terrible, then guns.com can drop them. And so I think it streamlines everything, and it gives you the confidence that you're going to get the gun in a timely manner. The people aren't going to, dilly dally and just waste their time.
Yeah, no, that's a super valid point. I mean, to kind of finish out the experience, because I think there's some important points here based on what you just said. I want people to know. I got an email notification when the gun had shipped. I got an email notification from guns.com when it arrived at the dealer. And the dealer, of course, called me as well and said, hey, we got your gun here. But here's the cool thing. After I picked up the gun, I got another email the next day from guns.com. And I don't know how they know I picked up the gun. I don't know if the dealer goes and checks a box somewhere and is like, yes, gun was picked up, or if they just send this email 48 hours after. I have no idea. But it took me 3-4 days to go in there and actually get the gun. So I think that they somehow were notified I'd picked it up by the dealer. But I got an email the next day, and the email was, hey, click here and fill out this survey about your pickup experience at, insert name of dealer here. And I clicked and I looked at that survey, and I was really surprised, because guns.com didn't give me a survey about my experience buying from them. They wanted to know about my experience picking up the gun from the dealer.
Wow.
Because they made it very clear. It's like, hey, we care about your experience, and if it wasn't good, we don't have to work with this dealer anymore. It didn't say that, but that's obviously what I'm inferring,
right,
based on the questions that were asked and them choosing to dictate that survey. It was very clear that throughout the process, I guess, it's clear to me that guns.com, and I think this is true of other dealers, to be clear, like my most recent experience was on guns.com, and they are an advertiser and sponsor of today's episode. So obviously we're referring to them, and without any reservation, I had a very positive experience there. But certainly there are other online retailers that would also meet these criteria. So
Sure.
to be clear, but what was clear to me is that guns.com cared about two things. One, working with local FFLs to support them in their business by doing things like allowing a local retailer, a local gun shop, to list their inventory for sale on guns.com, right? To be able to sell in that marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
And also by driving people like me into that dealer and then allowing me to provide feedback as to my experience. So for whatever that's worth, I think I don't know, something about the whole process was so impressive to me that I was like, holy crap, like they really want to know how good these local dealers are, how they're managing their customers, and it's all coming full circle.
Yeah, and I mean, this is like any business, right? Like if you take care of the customers, they'll become loyal customers. They'll use your services, and that's huge because I was when I saw that guns.com was going to start selling guns, and I was like, oh man, I mean, that's got to be a difficult, especially in the environment now, a difficult field or business to get into, right? Like online firearm sales. And then I saw, well, we're also going to allow you to, sell your guns to us, used guns, and we'll sell those. And I was like, wow, I mean, this is going to be even more difficult. But the fact that they're doing it, I think it's really I didn't obviously buy the gun. I didn't know about the surveys and stuff, but that is really important because those little things could totally undermine the whole premise of buying a gun online. And people are going to say, well, that's great that you have all this inventory and this and that, but I mean, the process is just rotten, and I frankly don't want to do it. But that's really good that they're trying to get the best FFLs. They're trying to include them into their network, and I think yes, obviously it helps guns.com, but it helps in general the gun community in so many different ways, right? It's helping those small businesses more than what we would think. It's helping people get access to guns that they may not necessarily be able to if they just go to the local dealer and pick from what they have in the case. And then it's helping even in cases where in my state where you can do a private party transfer. There's always a little bit of diciness when you're selling guns to people you don't know, right? And so some people like that. I want to sell my gun, but I don't want to meet some dude at the McDonald's, parking lot or something. So what I'm going to do is I'll sell it, even if I get, $50 less. It's safer for me. I'd rather be done with it. And so I think in many different aspects, this is helping gun owners, gun shops, and I think it's going to be a very welcome thing to the industry.
Yeah, I think we should. I appreciate you talking about that, and we should talk a little bit more about the used gun thing because it can be a little intimidating to sell guns. Can't say I've ever sold one myself. I own every gun I've ever. Oh, that's not true. I did sell a couple of guns back in the day, but for the most part, I haven't sold a gun in over a decade, and it can be intimidating. And sometimes it's a cash issue. It's like, hey, I need $500 right now, and I got this gun I never use. And sometimes it's a matter of in order to get another gun, right? I know a lot of people that's the situation. Like, well, the new blank, Bush Killer 10,000 just came out, and I have the old Bush Killer 5,000. So, if I can sell this and then use that money to go get the new one, then that's what I'd rather own. So if you have to sell a used gun, that can be difficult and intimidating. And certainly you can go into a local gun shop and they're gonna, it's the traditional old pawn, style transaction. But for another plug for guns.com, here's another shameless, point for them. They'll buy it from you. You don't even have to leave your house. You can just, you can go to guns.com, say, I want to sell my gun to guns.com. They will acquire it. They will pay you for it. And then they will certify. They have a certified used kind of process where they basically test the guns and ensure. In fact, I was just checking to see how they word it. That says, you have the peace of mind of knowing that on-site experts have inspected each gun individually. They'll ensure there are no mechanical defects and the condition of the gun is consistent with its rating. and then they'll they'll say they'll sell those on guns.com, obviously. So when you're shopping on that website, you can go to certified used and you can find those options. And it's really cool because the global marketplace is such that you can find things that you're just not going to find at a local dealer. I sorted by price, and I was looking for like the most expensive thing on guns.com. And it was a set of 3 commemorative 1911 pistols from Colt, all in a case with pearl handles for 35 grand. And I'm no collector. Like, I don't understand all those things, but I was like, the odds of me finding a really cool thing like this at my local shop are pretty low. My local shop might have some other really cool things too, right? But I just really impressed, I guess, with that concept of used. So if you're a person who either wants to sell a used gun, or you're a person who is happy to save a few bucks and buy a used gun, then the online marketplace is stepping up there in a way that it never had before. I think if we went back even just 2-3 years ago, you'd have a very hard time finding a marketplace for online used guns. Certainly there were places like an Arms List, or kind of some of these, what I would call more like a classifieds style website, where you could find someone who had put up, hey, I got this gun for sale, who wants it. But in terms of an actual like dealer who's managing that on the internet, and they are the actual end transaction, they're the actual end dealer, they're not just allowing other people to connect online. That's kind of a new thing, and I'm pretty impressed with that.
Yeah. And you mentioned about how they certify it, and they make sure it's functioning and stuff. And, when you go private party transaction, unless you go to the person's house and they have a range in their backyard or something like that, right? Which is not common. You're not going to know if that gun actually functions well, or what, anything about that gun. So, it's good. That's one of the things I've thought about, like when I've purchased guns, you really try to get an idea of what this person, who is this person. I'll look them up and do as much as I can investigation of the dude, his name and stuff like that, to try to figure out, before I would buy a gun. But this is cool because it takes all the haggling out, all the questions of is this gun going to fall apart or blow up, or is it a recall or whatever, and guns.com is doing all that. And like I said, I really think that at first I was kind of skeptical how they were going to pull it off, because I've seen other online gun sales, forum type things, and they're either like the classifieds, like you said, where everybody's just haggling, and or they're like a big auction type thing where it's difficult to really get an idea of what kind of gun you're getting and blah blah blah. So I like what guns.com is doing.
Yeah, a couple thoughts that might be helpful to the listener if you're considering, for the first time ever buying a gun online. One thought would be that you do need to be aware of that transfer fee. In other words, sometimes you might be saying, well, I was at blank store last night and they had the new FN 509 midsize MRD pistol. I'm into this gun, in case you didn't notice. They had this gun for sale and it was X dollars. And now I'm on this website, guns.com or wherever else, and I see it's cheaper. You do definitely need to make sure you understand what the other potential costs are that you could run into. I think sometimes people might be caught off guard when they think they're saving $50 on a gun, but then they have it shipped to the local dealer. They have to pay a $40 transfer fee. Some states also have a background check fee. Certainly here in Colorado we do, and it varies what that fee is. It changes from time to time. So I guess that would be like my tip number one for anyone who's out there thinking, hey, I think I might try an online transaction for a gun. Tip number one would be make sure you know what all the potential costs are you're going to incur, because you don't want to think you're getting a good deal and then end up finding out that it ended up costing you more than you thought. So in my case, when I was on guns.com and I saw the FFL options and I saw one of them, I knew what that FFL charged for transfer. I knew it was going to be $40. And I had to have that in my head and say, okay, I'm going to pay this plus this. And obviously I knew there was a background check fee. So you could have shipping costs. Certainly there are some, and this was not true of guns.com, but I have had websites where I've bought guns before, and after the transaction ended and the dealer contacts me to get payment, they say, well, the price you saw, you said you're going to pay $500 for it. That's only true if you mail me a check. Right. But if you want to pay with a credit card, there's a 3% surcharge or something. And so I guess I just, make sure that you explicitly understand what all the other potential fees are, shipping cost, if there's a credit card surcharge fee, if you're going to pay a transfer fee at the local dealer, what is that going to be? Is there a background check fee from the state? So that would be like tip number one from Jacob about buying a gun online.
Yeah. That's really smart to think about that, because I'm thinking back to like when I was looking at guns online and stuff, and you look at the price and it's like, $349. You're like, oh, that's $80 cheaper than anywhere. But by the time you pay that transfer fee, if there's a shipping fee that you don't see, or that's the cash only price, and yeah, that's you got to look at all that fine print. One of those things is interesting, is that, like, a lot of times we do gun reviews or something, and this just popped in my head. We'll do gun reviews on like a newer gun, right? And they'll say, I see comments all the time like, I can't get my hands on that gun at all, right? And so it's cool because some of the local dealers, they don't get the first runs of these guns. They only give them to like, online dealers that buy huge quantities, right? And so sometimes that's the only way you can get a gun in the first, 6-8 months, maybe a year that it's released, unless you're in some sort of waiting queue, right? And so that's another reason why, guns.com, buying a gun like that from an online dealer is good, because they're going to be able to pull those guns and get them to you probably quicker than your local FFL.
Yeah, that's super, super valid. Another thought I had is, and maybe this depends on what you're buying the gun for, and what your thoughts are, but generally speaking, it's always wise to put a gun in your hand before you buy it. Now, obviously, I can't. If guns.com is selling me my FN 509 midsize MRD pistol, I can't put that in that exact same thing that's going to show up in the mail in my hand before I pay for it. But I can go to a local dealer, maybe a bigger, like a big box store or something, where they're likely to have it, and I can still pull it out of the glass case, put it in my hand, and say, is this a gun that's going to fit my hand well? Do I like it? Do I like the ergonomics? So, just like anything else you'd buy online, to the best of your ability, you want to reduce the potential for buyer's remorse. And returning a gun is a little more complex than returning the holster you didn't like. So, you probably want to have some confidence that this is a gun you're going to like and you're going to enjoy. And making the trip to the local shop and put it in your hand also is going to give you an opportunity to say, hey, maybe this is the best place to get my best deal. If that's the case, then buy it there. But what other thoughts, Matthew, do you have about, making sure a gun is the gun for you before you buy it online, or anything else along those lines?
Well, that's one of the cool things about some of the shops that have a range along with them, right? Like, I know you probably do this all the time with students, and they're like, what's the best gun? And it's difficult because, there is no best gun, right? Like, you can't give them, you can say, these are the things that make a gun preferable for concealed carry, or for home defense, or for stature, or your hand size, or what you want, how you want to carry it. But it's difficult. And so a lot of times we say, we'll kind of point somebody to a category or a few type, these 4 or 5 guns are similar. They're going to feel a little bit different, maybe in the trigger pull, or maybe capacity is a little bit different, or the holster selection. But go to a store, get them in your hands, feel how they shoot, if you can test fire those, and then see what works best for you. But I think what happens a lot of times is people, they see something online, or they see, a review or a picture, and it looks really cool, and they buy it, and then they go out and they shoot it, and then they shoot somebody else's gun. They're like, they don't want to say it, but they're like, I should have gotten that. Or so there is something to be said about like getting the gun in your hand and making sure that, not just that it feels good, but it actually, once you get it in your hand and you look at the sights and all the stuff that you kind of don't think about, start to add up. And so it's good to get it in your hand and kind of test it out before you go and purchase it.
Yeah, and I do think that there's also like some learning curve relative to how important that becomes. I mean, I suspect, Matthew, you've been shooting a lot of guns much longer than I have, and I suspect you're at a point, probably, how I tell you this is how I feel, and maybe you will agree with me or disagree with me, but I don't maybe it's in part because I'm in the industry and I get to go to SHOT Show and I get to touch every gun I want like once a year. But there's also something to me that I pretty much can look at a gun now and be like, yeah, I'm going to be good with that gun,
Yeah.
because what you get, there's some like point of diminishing return relative to I need to touch and feel it before I think I'm going to like it.
Right.
And you just kind of can eyeball it and watch a YouTube video and be like, yeah, I think I would enjoy that gun.
Yeah, I mean, because probably, you'll know if it has the same grip angle as a Glock versus a 1911. So you'll know, okay, it's going to feel similar. You can look at, the capacity and be like, no, I need something more capacity than that, or the types of sights, or, where the magazine releases. And I have small hands. I've said it before. It's just how I was born. But like, I know certain guns, I'm not going to be able to get to the magazine release. So I'm not going to even, I might use it for a range gun or something like that, but it's not going to be something that I can carry. And so I think, you're right that you start looking at those things, and I think it's weird because as I go along, at first you get the gun that you like, and that's all that you like. Everything else is garbage compared to the gun you like. And then you start seeing all these other guns and you're like, oh, I want to try that. I want to try that. And you're like, oh, these are cool. And then at least for me, I've kind of peaked, and now I'm like, it's nice to shoot, but I go back to like the standard old, that Glock 19, or, I like the P365, and, like I may like the Hellcat, I might like this or that, but like, I'm just kind of like going back to the standard stuff that I know and then I like to shoot. And so I don't know, maybe other people are different, but I've kind of like see a little curve there for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I'm on a journey. I think I've shared this on the podcast before, to own a gun from every major manufacturer. It's just a weird goal of mine. And sometimes I do things that are counterproductive, like this gun I just bought. I already own an FN. I have an FNS. And so I shouldn't have bought another FN, but I really wanted this gun. But you just kind of get to this point where it's like, I could just look at it and say, okay, it's the same profile as the insert other thing I'm familiar with here. And 3 YouTube videos say that the trigger feels a lot like this other gun, and I know what that trigger feels like, and the capacity is X, and yeah, assuming that it's reliable, it doesn't suck, I'm probably going to like that gun.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm saying is, do you, right? I mean, if you're a person who's like, I just don't know if then go to a store, like go hold it in your hand and feel it and say, this feels good to me. I think, I like it. You might feel like, just putting it in your hand gives you a great enough confidence to buy it. You might want to go the extra step and say, no, I want to rent one of these, or find somebody who owns one and shoot it and enjoy it. And, before I go buy one, I'm kind of beyond both those things. I feel like I can look at a picture on the internet and be like, yep, I'm good to go. I can buy that gun. I like it. So it's the beast. A couple of quick questions here that have come in that I do think are worth addressing. Someone asked about, how many high points does Jacob own? So I mentioned earlier that I've only ever sold guns once. They were all high points. The first guns I ever bought were high points. They were the cheapest guns. So I bought 3. I had a 9, a 40, and a 45. And a couple of years later, I sold all 3 and bought a Glock. And I have not bought a high point since, and I don't have anything specifically against high points, other than, yes, I owned some once and I sold them to buy something else. Someone asked, what do you think about the Canic line? I think Canics are great. I think that they make a good gun. And somebody asked about, they made a comment about buying a first run of any firearms a little sketchy. David, I'm one that's inclined to believe that that's to teach their own, Nick. I think the major gun manufacturers stand behind their products. So if you buy a gun that's in its first run and there's some sort of issue, they're going to take care of you. That's just the nature of what's necessary for them to stay in business. It's interesting to see so many of the people who are following us online talking about how they've never bought a gun online. And then you have other people who say they've purchased a lot of guns online. And that's just something they've done. Matthew, what else are we missing, or anything else we should cover relative to buying a gun online?
I think we covered all the mechanics of it. I would say, like you said, there's other websites that sell guns and things like that, but and I haven't personally bought one from guns.com, but everything that you've told me, as far as your experience, I trust, what your experience is not out of the ordinary, because you didn't tell them, hey, this is Jacob, I'm going to do a podcast, and so I want you to give me white glove treatment. You just went through the same standard process as everyone else. So I think, if you have a favorite place that you buy guns online, I saw a couple shops pop up in the comments that people like to buy from. Try guns.com and see. I mean, if there are things that you like about the place you buy now, great. If there's some things that you don't like and you want that peace of mind to be able to say, hey, I'm going to ship it to this FFL, I don't have to go through this wild goose chase to hunt them down and make sure that they're at home and all this stuff, then guns.com streamlining that is a really good option. I think that it's gonna help a lot of people that want to purchase a gun online. It's gonna help them have that peace of mind.
Yeah, my main objective in this episode is that if you're listening to this and you're a person who's done it all, you've bought online, you've bought from auctions, you've gone to the gun show, and you've been to the local, you've done it all, then great. Hopefully, maybe you got something out of this. But for those of you who have just never shopped online for a gun before, I'm hoping we've removed any degree of mystery or concern. And by sharing this most recent experience of mine, hopefully that gives you some confidence that that's an option you have available to you. And I think that's the way to kind of approach this and say, hey, you got plenty of places you can buy a gun. Don't rule out the option of buying online, and certainly know that it still supports a local gun dealer, because you're going to have to walk into that store and you have to pick up that gun. You're going to have to pay them for their time.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's, I guess, our thoughts. So with that, guys, thank you for participating, for listening today, episode 398 of the Concealed Carry Podcast. Have you checked out our other podcasts? Guys, if you haven't, please do. We now have 4 total podcasts that make up the concealedcarry.com network. If you haven't already checked out, go subscribe and check these out. You can learn more about all our podcasts at podcasts.concealedcarry.com. You have the Law Dog Shooting Sports podcast with Chuck Ramsey and Brian Eastridge, 2 cops who bring a lot of interesting perspectives from that kind of background to today's modern, carrying gun toting citizen. We have the Not Your Average Gun Girls podcast, which has been on a little bit of a hiatus recently, but those ladies are geniuses, and there's 80 something episodes there that you can go listen to while you're waiting for them to get back to recording. And of course, the Firearm Trainers podcast, for those of you who are or who are interested in becoming instructors in the firearm space and teaching other people and growing that side of your business and doing a better job of what you do. Please go and subscribe to the Firearm Trainers podcast. You can learn more about all those anywhere you listen to podcasts, and of course at podcast.concealedcarry.com. A reminder, today's episode is brought to you by guns.com, what I think is a fantastic modern marketplace where you can buy and sell guns. And I think if you haven't checked it out, if you haven't been there yet to see what their experience is like and how it works, I think you're missing out. I think it's a great place to buy a gun or to sell your used gun, in that marketplace. So check it out. And of course, also brought to you by Guardian Nation. So go to guardiannation.com to learn more about the different benefits and take advantage of those opportunities. Matthew, anything I'm missing or I've forgotten?
No, like always, you cover everything well, man.
Okay, so guys, with that, remember to train right, train often, and train safe so you can fight hard, fight fast, and fight true. Take care. Okay. Wow, my camera. Oh, okay. Sorry.
I think your camera cut off or something.
Yeah, I'm having camera and microphone drama. So sorry, everybody. But we appreciate you being here today with us. We hope that you enjoyed this episode. And Bobby says, Jacob looks like a kid at Christmas with his new FN pistol. I'm pretty stoked about this, Bobby. I wish my camera would work so I could show it to you. You know what? Let me switch to this other camera. There we go. So there it is. The FN midsize MRD. Pretty stoked about it.
Sweet.
Yeah, the trigger seems really good. I love the ergonomics. FN makes good guns, but this one, I think that they got the right balance of stippling. My FNS feels a little bit rough for me, whereas this one feels just right. So yeah, I love it. And for those of you who are the safety crazies out there, I do have barrel block in here, so you all can see that it's safe, inert, and can't discharge. Matthew, what's your next gun going to be, man?
Oh man. I don't know. I have no idea. I can't even I couldn't even think about it right now, like especially because my wife listens to it sometimes, so I don't want to let her know. She'll be like, no, you're not getting that. She'll look up the MSRP or something.
Oh, Nate, that wasn't very nice. Nate prefers my camera off.
Oh man.
I know this is pretty upfront. This little like built-in camera on my laptop is super like up my nose, but that was less than kind, bro. It's all good. All right, guys. We will see you on Tuesday. Talk to you then.